There is a kind of strength the world rarely celebrates because it cannot be controlled, rushed, or diminished. It is the strength of a woman who walks alone, not because she was rejected, but because she refused to abandon herself. In a society that measures a woman's worth by who stands beside her, she quietly rewrites the rules by standing firmly on her own. Her solitude is not a lack of love, it is proof that she understands love deeply enough not to counterfeit it. This is not a story about loneliness, this is a story about mastery of mind, emotion, spirit, and destiny. And once you understand this power, you will never see independence the same way again. A woman living alone without a boyfriend experiences an awakening that reshapes her entire identity. For the first time, she is not defined by compromise, emotional negotiation, or someone else's expectations. Her choices are no longer filtered through fear of abandonment or the need to be chosen. She begins to realize that choosing herself is not selfish. It is foundational. This awakening is quiet, but it is irreversible. In the absence of romantic attachment, she confronts herself honestly. There is no distraction to mask unresolved emotions or unhealed wounds. Instead of escaping discomfort, she learns to sit with it. This self-confrontation is uncomfortable, but it is transformative. What once felt like emptiness slowly reveals itself as space to grow, to think, to become. Living alone teaches her that peace is not something a partner provides. It is something she cultivates. She starts to notice how calm her nervous system becomes without emotional unpredictability. No mixed signals, no emotional roller coasters, just clarity. This calmness becomes addictive, and she refuses to trade it for chaos disguised as love. Without a boyfriend, she stops performing and starts existing authentically. She no longer molds herself to fit someone else's emotional capacity. Her laughter becomes real, her silence intentional, her tears honest. She realizes how often women shrink themselves in relationships just to be loved. Alone, she expands fully. Fear loses its grip when she realizes she is capable of handling life on her own, paying bills, making decisions, navigating challenges. Each responsibility strengthens her self-trust. Confidence is no longer theoretical, it is earned. She no longer wonders if she is strong enough. She knows. This phase awakens discernment. She starts to recognize how often relationships are chosen out of fear rather than alignment. The fear of being alone, the fear of falling behind, the fear of judgment. Living alone breaks these illusions. She learns that solitude is not the enemy, self-betrayal is. As she chooses herself day after day, something profound happens. Her standards rise naturally, not from arrogance, but from clarity. She understands what peace costs, and she will not discount it. She no longer chases connection, she attracts alignment. This is the beginning of her power. Living without a boyfriend forces a woman to develop emotional self-mastery in ways most people never experience. There is no one to absorb her emotional overflow, no one to stabilize her mood for her, no one to rescue her from discomfort. Instead, she learns how to hold herself steady. She learns to breathe through anxiety, to sit with sadness without panicking, and to calm her own storms. Over time, she realizes this skill is rare and powerful. She begins to understand her emotions rather than fear them. Loneliness, when it arises, is no longer interpreted as failure but as information. She listens to it. She asks what it is teaching her. Often it reveals unmet needs, not for romance, but for rest, purpose, or self-expression. By responding wisely instead of reactively, she grows emotionally intelligent. Without a partner to validate her feelings, she validates herself. She no longer waits for someone to say, "You're right to feel this way." She becomes her own witness. This internal validation rewires her sense of worth. Her emotions no longer need permission to exist, and because of that, they no longer control her. Living alone teaches her emotional containment. She no longer overshares to feel connected or explains herself to feel understood. She learns discernment, who deserves access to her inner world and who does not. This containment is not coldness, it is wisdom. Her emotional energy becomes protected rather than scattered. A woman without a boyfriend becomes fluent in self-soothing. She learns what calms her nervous system: silence, movement, prayer, journaling, music, nature, routine. Instead of reaching for someone to fill the void, she reaches inward. Each time she successfully regulates herself, her confidence deepens. Emotional self-mastery also teaches her patience. She stops demanding immediate relief from discomfort. She understands that feelings pass if allowed to move naturally. This patience makes her resilient. Life no longer overwhelms her easily because she knows she can endure emotional waves without drowning. She becomes deeply aware of emotional manipulation because she no longer lives in it. Gaslighting, guilt, inconsistency, emotional unavailability, these patterns become obvious when she experiences emotional peace. What she once normalized now feels unbearable. Awareness becomes her protection. Without emotional dependency, she gains clarity. She can distinguish between attraction and attachment, between love and fear, between desire and compatibility. Her emotional decisions become thoughtful rather than impulsive. This clarity saves her from repeating cycles that once drained her. A woman alone learns to pause before reacting. Instead of responding from wounds, she responds from awareness. She no longer needs to be right, prove herself, or win emotional battles. She chooses peace over ego. This restraint is a form of quiet authority. Emotional self-mastery teaches her that she does not need to be rescued. She is capable of holding herself through disappointment, rejection, and uncertainty. This realization changes how she approaches relationships forever. She no longer seeks someone to save her, only someone who complements her strength. As she becomes her own safe place, fear loses its power. The fear of abandonment fades because she knows she will not abandon herself. The fear of being alone dissolves because she understands she is never empty within. This inner safety becomes her greatest asset. Living alone without a boyfriend forces a woman to meet herself without mirrors. There is no partner reflecting back an identity, no relationship label shaping how she introduces herself. In this space, she discovers who she is when no one is watching. Her likes, dislikes, values, and convictions become clear. Identity stops being negotiable and starts being rooted. She realizes how often women soften their boundaries to maintain connection. Alone, she no longer has to negotiate her limits. What drains her is removed. What disrespects her is declined. Each no strengthens her spine. Boundaries stop feeling like walls and start feeling like self-respect. A woman living alone learns that access to her life is a privilege, not a right. Without a boyfriend occupying emotional space, she becomes intentional about who enters her world. Not everyone who wants closeness deserves it. Discernment becomes second nature. Her peace becomes non-negotiable. Her standards rise naturally, not because she wants more, but because she tolerates less. Inconsistency, emotional laziness, and half-effort stand out immediately. What she once excused now feels incompatible. She no longer lowers her expectations to avoid being alone. She would rather be alone than misaligned. Living alone gives her the courage to be misunderstood. She no longer explains her boundaries excessively. She stops over-justifying her choices. Silence replaces defense. This quiet confidence unsettles those who are used to access without accountability. She becomes selective with her time because she understands its value. Time spent alone is no longer empty. It is nourishing. Anyone who disrupts her peace must bring depth, consistency, and respect. This selectiveness is not arrogance. It is awareness. A woman without a boyfriend learns that being liked is not the same as being respected. She stops chasing approval. She chooses integrity over popularity. Her authenticity may shrink her audience, but it strengthens her soul. Boundaries also reshape how she speaks. She communicates clearly and calmly. No emotional pleading, no over-explaining, just truth, delivered with self-respect. This clarity commands respect without demand. As her identity solidifies, comparison loses its grip. She no longer measures herself against timelines, couples, or societal expectations. Her journey becomes personal. She understands that alignment matters more than appearance. Living alone teaches her how to walk away without drama. She no longer needs closure from people who cannot meet her standards. Peace becomes closure. This ability to disengage without chaos is power. She becomes comfortable disappointing others if it means honoring herself. Guilt no longer controls her decisions. She understands that self-betrayal costs more than disapproval. This realization strengthens her boundaries even further. A woman with strong boundaries becomes emotionally inaccessible to manipulation. She sees through flattery, urgency, and false promises. Her clarity repels confusion. Those who cannot respect her limits remove themselves naturally. Living alone teaches her that love should never require self-erasure. She refuses to shrink, silence, or sacrifice her identity for connection. Her wholeness becomes the entry requirement. This changes the caliber of people drawn to her. Her standards no longer need explanation. They are lived, not announced. She moves differently, speaks differently, and chooses differently. This consistency builds inner authority. Identity and boundaries merge into self-trust. She knows what feels right and what does not. Doubt fades because she has honored herself repeatedly. Confidence becomes embodied rather than asserted. A woman who knows herself cannot be easily controlled. She does not fear losing what was never aligned. She understands that walking alone is sometimes the price of walking in truth, and she pays it willingly. Living alone without a boyfriend places a woman in full leadership of her own life. There is no shared responsibility to fall back on, no partner to defer decisions to, and no one else to blame when things don't go as planned. This responsibility is heavy at first, but it becomes empowering. She learns that leadership begins with ownership, and ownership builds confidence faster than comfort ever could. Financial independence becomes more than survival. It becomes self-respect. She learns how to manage money, plan ahead, and make strategic choices. Every bill paid and every goal met strengthens her belief in herself. Money stops being emotional leverage and becomes a tool. With independence comes dignity. Discipline becomes her daily companion. She creates routines, not to impress anyone, but to support her future. She learns to wake up even when motivation is low, to stay consistent when no one is watching, and to finish what she starts. This self-discipline shapes her character more than praise ever could. Living alone teaches her to solve problems instead of waiting for rescue. When something breaks, she fixes it or figures it out. When life gets hard, she adapts. This ability to respond instead of panic makes her resilient. She realizes she is capable of handling far more than she once believed. A woman without a boyfriend becomes deeply intentional with her goals. She is no longer distracted by emotional turbulence or relationship uncertainty. Her energy is focused. She plans her future with clarity and patience. Each step forward feels purposeful rather than rushed. Self-leadership also sharpens her decision-making. She learns to pause, evaluate, and choose wisely. Emotional impulse gives way to thoughtful action. She no longer seeks approval before moving forward. Her trust in her own judgment becomes unshakable. Living alone teaches her accountability. There is no one else to carry the emotional or practical weight of her choices. This accountability strengthens her integrity. She becomes reliable to herself. Promises made are promises kept. Independence removes fear from responsibility. What once felt overwhelming becomes familiar. She learns that responsibility is not punishment, it is power. The more she handles, the stronger she becomes. Confidence grows quietly, rooted in competence. A woman leading her own life understands the value of consistency. She no longer chases quick fixes or instant gratification. She invests in long-term stability. This patience builds a life that is solid, not fragile. Living alone teaches her to trust her timing. She stops comparing her progress to others. She understands that building a strong foundation takes time. Rushing no longer appeals to her. Alignment matters more than speed. She becomes deeply self-reliant without becoming closed off. Independence does not harden her heart. It strengthens it. She remains open but not dependent. This balance makes her emotionally and practically powerful. Self-leadership teaches her that she is responsible for her happiness. She no longer expects someone else to fix her life or fill her voids. Joy becomes intentional. Fulfillment becomes cultivated. A woman without a boyfriend learns that solitude accelerates growth. Without distraction, progress becomes visible. Skills sharpen, vision clarifies, her life begins to reflect her inner discipline. Living alone builds trust in her ability to recover. Failure no longer scares her. She knows she can rebuild. This confidence allows her to take calculated risks without fear. She begins to see herself as capable, dependable, and strong. This self-image transforms how others treat her. Leadership energy becomes noticeable. People respect what she respects in herself. Independence teaches her that no one is coming to save her, and that this is not tragic, but liberating. She is the architect of her life, and she builds it with intention, strength, and grace. Living alone introduces a woman to true solitude, not the kind filled with noise and distraction, but the kind that reveals who she really is. In this stillness, her nervous system finally exhales. There is no emotional tension to manage, no expectations to meet. Peace becomes her baseline, not a rare moment she has to fight for. She learns that silence is not emptiness, it is nourishment. In the quiet, her thoughts become organized, her emotions settle. She hears herself clearly for the first time. This clarity sharpens her awareness and deepens her presence in everyday life. Solitude teaches her how to be present instead of performative. She no longer lives for reaction or approval. Moments don't need to be shared to be meaningful. Her life becomes deeply personal, and that privacy strengthens her inner world. Without the emotional noise of a relationship, creativity awakens. Ideas that were once buried beneath compromise and emotional maintenance begin to surface. She thinks freely, she imagines boldly. Creativity flows naturally when the mind is uncluttered. Living alone gives her uninterrupted space to explore her passions. She reads more deeply, writes more honestly, creates more fearlessly. Her mind expands because it is no longer crowded. This creative expression becomes both therapy and purpose. Inner peace becomes her standard, not a luxury. She notices how her body responds to calm, how her sleep improves, how her focus sharpens, how her energy stabilizes. Peace stops being boring and starts feeling powerful. Chaos loses its appeal. A woman without a boyfriend becomes highly sensitive to energy. She recognizes what disturbs her peace immediately. Loud personalities, emotional instability, and inconsistency feel intrusive. She learns to remove herself without guilt. Protecting peace becomes self-respect. Solitude deepens her emotional clarity. She no longer confuses excitement with connection or intensity with intimacy. Calm feels safe. Stability feels attractive. Her nervous system rewires itself away from chaos. Living alone teaches her how to enjoy life without witnesses. She celebrates small victories privately. She savors moments without documenting them. This quiet joy builds contentment that does not depend on external validation. Inner peace allows her to respond rather than react. She pauses before speaking. She observes before engaging. This composure gives her authority. People sense her calm and adjust around it. Creativity also becomes a form of healing. Through expression, she releases old pain without reliving it. Art, writing, movement, or reflection become outlets for transformation. Her solitude becomes productive, not isolating. A woman alone learns that boredom is a gateway, not a problem. Instead of filling time with distraction, she allows herself to be still. From that stillness, insight emerges. Growth accelerates quietly. She becomes deeply comfortable in her own presence. There is no urge to escape herself. This self-acceptance radiates outward. Confidence becomes subtle but undeniable. Living alone teaches her how to create rituals that support her peace. Morning routines, evening wind-downs, moments of reflection, these habits anchor her. Her life gains rhythm and balance. Inner peace sharpens her intuition. With less noise, her inner voice becomes clear. She trusts her instincts because they are no longer drowned out. Decisions feel aligned rather than forced. Solitude reveals her emotional patterns honestly. Without distraction, she sees what needs healing and what has already healed. Awareness replaces denial. This honesty strengthens her emotional maturity. She learns that peace is not passive, it is cultivated daily. Boundaries, rest, and intentional living all protect it. This discipline transforms her lifestyle. Calm becomes a choice she makes repeatedly. A woman without a boyfriend realizes that solitude is not something to escape before happiness begins. Happiness is happening now in the quiet moments. This realization changes everything. She becomes less reactive to the world's pressure. Trends, timelines, and opinions lose their influence. Her internal compass guides her more than external noise. This groundedness makes her unshakable. Solitude teaches her that she is enough company. She does not need constant stimulation to feel alive. Her inner world is rich. Her presence is sufficient. Living alone sharpens a woman's discernment in ways nothing else can. Without emotional dependence clouding her judgment, she sees people clearly. Intentions reveal themselves quickly when she is not attached to outcomes. She no longer romanticizes potential. She evaluates consistency. This clarity protects her heart. She begins to notice how many connections are driven by need rather than alignment. Need seeks relief. Alignment seeks resonance. Having learned to meet her own needs, she is no longer pulled toward urgency or emotional hunger. She chooses slowly, wisely, and without pressure. A woman without a boyfriend becomes highly attuned to effort. Words no longer impress her. Behavior does. She notices follow-through, reliability, and emotional availability. Anything less feels loud and unappealing. Her standards are quiet but uncompromising. Discernment teaches her to recognize attraction without attachment. She can appreciate chemistry without surrendering her center. This ability gives her power over her choices. She no longer loses herself in infatuation. She remains grounded in self-respect. Living alone rewires what she finds attractive. Drama fades, stability rises, emotional maturity becomes magnetic. She is drawn to depth rather than excitement, to presence rather than performance. Her nervous system now seeks peace. She understands that attention is not intimacy. Many people can show interest. Few can offer safety. Having become her own safe place, she recognizes who can add to that security and who cannot. This awareness filters her connections effortlessly. A woman living alone learns to listen more than she speaks. She observes how people handle boundaries, silence, and disagreement. These moments reveal character. She trusts patterns over promises. Discernment becomes instinctive. Her independence changes how she is approached. Those seeking control feel threatened by her autonomy. Those seeking partnership feel drawn to her strength. She no longer chases. She attracts based on alignment. This shift protects her energy. She stops confusing intensity with love. Passion without consistency no longer appeals to her. She understands that real connection feels steady, not anxious. Calm no longer feels boring, it feels safe. Living alone teaches her to walk away early. Red flags are not invitations for patience, they are signals for distance. She does not wait for proof of harm. Trusting herself means honoring early intuition. She becomes emotionally selective without becoming closed off. Her heart remains open, but guarded by wisdom. She knows openness without discernment leads to depletion. Balance becomes her strength. A woman without a boyfriend no longer negotiates her worth. She does not compete for attention or chase validation. She knows that anyone who values her will meet her with clarity and effort. Anything else disqualifies itself. Discernment teaches her timing. She does not rush connection. She allows things to unfold naturally. Patience reveals truth faster than pressure ever could. This patience keeps her grounded. She understands that love should feel reciprocal, not draining. Conversations flow. Effort is mutual. Presence is consistent. Anything that requires her to overextend feels wrong. Her body confirms what her mind already knows. Living alone helps her recognize emotional availability. She can sense when someone is present or distracted, grounded or chaotic. She trusts this awareness. Emotional maturity becomes the baseline. She no longer believes that love must hurt to be real. Pain is no longer proof of depth. Peace becomes the measure. This shift protects her from cycles of unnecessary suffering. A woman with discernment does not fear being single. Because she is whole alone, she does not settle. This freedom raises the quality of love she allows. Scarcity no longer dictates her choices. She understands that attraction should feel aligned with her values. Chemistry without character loses its appeal. Integrity becomes attractive. Depth becomes irresistible. Living alone teaches her that true partnership begins with two whole individuals. She does not look for completion, she looks for complement. This mindset changes everything. Discernment also teaches her humility. She remains open to learning, growing, and adjusting. Strength does not make her rigid, it makes her wise. Flexibility without self-betrayal becomes her balance. Living alone reshapes the way a woman carries herself in the world. Her presence becomes calm, grounded, and intentional. She no longer rushes to fill silence or prove her worth. There is a steadiness in her posture and a quiet certainty in her voice. People feel it before they understand it. Confidence for her is no longer loud or performative. It does not seek attention or validation. It rests in knowing she can handle whatever comes next. This kind of confidence is unshakable because it is built on experience, not praise. A woman without a boyfriend learns how to be comfortable being seen and unseen. She does not measure her value by applause or recognition. Whether she is noticed or overlooked, she remains the same. This consistency gives her emotional authority. She moves through life without urgency. Desperation has left her body. She no longer chases people, opportunities, or outcomes. She understands that what is aligned will meet her at the right pace. This patience gives her a powerful composure. Living alone teaches her how to stand in rooms without shrinking. She speaks when necessary and listens when appropriate. She does not over-explain or apologize for existing. Her words carry weight because they are measured and intentional. Her confidence makes others more honest around her. Pretending feels unnecessary in her presence. She invites authenticity simply by being authentic herself. This makes her influential without trying to be. A woman who has mastered solitude becomes deeply self-assured. She trusts her ability to adapt, to recover, and to rebuild. Even uncertainty does not shake her. She knows she will find her footing again. Living alone teaches her to lead by example rather than instruction. She does not preach independence, she embodies it. Her life becomes a reference point for others who are learning to choose themselves. Quiet leadership becomes her legacy. She becomes comfortable standing alone in her beliefs. Popular opinion does not sway her easily. She listens, considers, and decides for herself. This intellectual independence strengthens her confidence further. Her presence carries peace rather than pressure. People feel calmer around her because she is not emotionally reactive. She does not feed chaos or amplify drama. This emotional steadiness makes her a grounding force. A woman without a boyfriend understands that legacy is not built through relationships alone, but through character. How she treats herself, how she handles adversity, and how she honors her values define her impact. She lives with intention. Living alone refines her sense of purpose. She is no longer distracted by proving her desirability. Her energy is invested in growth, contribution, and meaning. This focus gives her life direction. She becomes an example of what self-respect looks like in practice. Not perfection, but consistency. Not hardness, but clarity. Her life teaches without words. Confidence allows her to remain kind without becoming passive. She is compassionate, but not self-sacrificing. She is generous, but not available for misuse. This balance earns respect naturally. She understands that her presence alone can shift a room. Calm confidence is contagious. People adjust their tone, their pace, and their behavior around her. This influence is subtle but undeniable. Living alone teaches her to honor her intuition publicly and privately. She does not second-guess herself to make others comfortable. Her trust in herself is visible. This trust inspires confidence in others as well. She becomes a safe example for other women, not because she has all the answers, but because she proves that a woman can thrive without attaching her worth to a partner. Her existence challenges outdated narratives. A woman grounded in herself does not fear aging, change, or evolution. She welcomes growth. She understands that becoming is lifelong. This openness keeps her vibrant. Her confidence is no longer tied to how she is perceived romantically. She values depth over desirability, substance over surface. This shift frees her from comparison and competition. Living alone allows her to define success on her own terms. Peace, integrity, fulfillment, and purpose replace external milestones. Her life becomes aligned rather than impressive. Living alone without a boyfriend brings a woman back to herself in a way nothing else can. After the growth, the discipline, the solitude, and the discernment, she realizes something profound. She was never incomplete. Every season of standing alone was shaping her capacity to stand strong. What once felt like waiting was actually preparation. She begins to understand that solitude was not a pause in her life, but a turning point. It stripped away illusions, distractions, and emotional noise. It refined her character. It strengthened her spirit. The woman she has become could not have emerged in comfort. A woman who has lived alone long enough stops asking when love will come and starts asking what kind of life she is building. Her focus shifts from outcomes to alignment. She understands that destiny responds to readiness, not urgency. This trust calms her completely. She no longer sees being without a boyfriend as a deficiency. She sees it as evidence of discernment, evidence that she did not rush, evidence that she honored herself. This reframing heals old insecurities permanently. Living alone teaches her that wholeness is internal. No relationship can complete what she has already integrated within herself. If love enters her life, it will be an addition, not a foundation. This understanding protects her future. She becomes deeply patient with timing. She knows that what arrives too early cannot be sustained. Rushing no longer tempts her. She trusts the pace of her becoming. This patience gives her peace, even in uncertainty. A woman who has mastered solitude understands that love should meet her where she is, not pull her backward. She refuses to downgrade her peace for companionship. Alignment becomes the only invitation. Anything less does not disturb her calm. She no longer fears ending up alone because she knows what alone truly feels like. And it feels powerful. It feels stable. It feels self-directed. Fear dissolves when reality proves to be kinder than imagination. Living alone teaches her gratitude for her own resilience. She looks back at the woman she once was, seeking validation, fearing abandonment, doubting herself, and honors how far she has come. Pride replaces shame. Respect replaces regret. She understands that her journey is quietly rewriting narratives for others. By living well alone, she challenges the belief that a woman's value depends on partnership. Her life becomes a silent permission slip for others to choose themselves. A woman grounded in herself walks differently into the future. She is not hardened by solitude, she is refined by it. Her heart remains open, but her standards are clear. She carries both softness and strength without conflict. She realizes that the greatest relationship she will ever have is the one she built with herself. This relationship taught her honesty, patience, courage, and trust. It became the blueprint for every healthy connection to come. Living alone shows her that destiny is not something she waits for, it is something she aligns with. Every decision rooted in self-respect brings her closer to the life meant for her. Nothing was wasted, nothing was delayed. She no longer asks the world to see her worth. She knows it. The certainty changes how she loves, how she chooses, and how she lives. Confidence becomes quiet and permanent. In the end, the power of a woman living alone without a boyfriend is not found in her independence alone, but in her wholeness. She is complete, grounded, and deeply self-aware. Whether love comes or not, she is already living a full life. A woman who learns to stand alone does not fear the future. She becomes ready for it. She is not waiting to be saved, completed, or chosen. She has already chosen herself, and when a woman reaches that point, life does not pass her by. It meets her at her level.